Hi, everyone. Very nice to see you all. I'm Tawishi. As Tram said, I lead investments at Fintech Nation, and I also am the chair of Women in Fintech subcommittee at Singapore Fintech Association. Now, let me first introduce our amazing panelists. We have Sweta Rao here. Sweta is a general partner and the brains behind White Venture Capital. White Venture makes pre-seed to pre-series A investments that have the potential to make an impact. Now, she has experience in Wipro, IBM, and DBS. She started angel investing in 2016 and has had multiple successful investments, all from pre-seed to even some exits. And beyond that, she has an amazing, avid interest in playing badminton and also is very good at yoga, apparently. And we'll test that one day. We also have with us Abby. Abby is an investor at M Venture Partners. She has over 11 years of experience in financial services across investment banking and venture capital investment. She has led multiple early-stage fintech and insurtech investments across Southeast Asia and India. And her special interest is doing Muay Thai. And she's very good at it, so we are going to spar one day, we have decided. Okay, so before we deep dive into why we want to do this panel, I think it is important to understand the landscape that we have today. So we at Women in Fintech subcommittee at Singapore Fintech Association last year did an interesting study. It was to understand the diversity of women representation, not just for investor landscape, but also for founder and board. And what we realized, especially for the investor landscape, is that on an average, the number is only 15% when it comes to having a women investor lead a deal. Now, obviously, that's a very, very dire number. Another interesting number that I would like to quote before we deep dive into questions is a report that I saw wherein they said that when it comes to a VC fund, they saw that the IRR of teams which have a healthy diversity as opposed to very male-dominated teams is much higher, and it's almost differing by 9.3 percentage basis points. So imagine that literally the numbers are saying that not only one, the diversity is so imbalanced, but two, if you have better balance, then even your IRR is higher for such funds. So with that in mind, I think it's important to deep dive into the root causes of it and how we can do it better. So obviously, both of you have amazing experience. Sweta, you have your own fund. You're an experienced, seasoned professional. And Abby, you're an amazing rising star at a fund. So first question would be, do you think these numbers lie? Is it truly the grassroots voice that you're hearing as well? What's your initial thought? Sweta, do we start with you?
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Tawishi. Pleasure to be here. I mean, the numbers don't lie. I think the representation is much lesser. I do see some change. So I've been angel investing from last 7-8 years. I have few female founders in which I've invested from the fund. In fact, do not really have any fintech company which is run by a female founder. But I do see a change, especially last 2-3 years. I am talking to more female founders. In fact, this week I'm talking to 2 female founders, fintech, which is really rare, in fact, last so many years of my experience. But what I've seen, especially in India, so there are these companies which IPO'd, right? Like you take Nykaa, Falguni Nair is there, Mamaearth, Ghazal is there, and then MobiKwik, which is going further. So these role models are getting created, and so that itself is a very good sign. Here itself in SFF, you see panelists, and I went to many panelists and female panelists, and all of them were so good, right? So I think it's starting. We'll see the difference in few years for sure.
Yeah, hopefully the journey is only going to go upwards. Yeah. Abby?
Yeah, so I work for a fund that covers both Southeast Asia and India, so I do kind of see the differences between 2 regions. I think first from a math and science perspective, we recently released a unicorn report covering both Southeast Asia and India. Southeast Asia has 8% of unicorns made by female founders or co-founders, whereas in India it's about 10%. But that being said, the numbers are increasing since 2000, and we're seeing that on a day-to-day basis, right? So we're seeing a lot more sort of female founders coming to pitch, starting in very interesting companies, some financial inclusion, but a lot in the health, wellness, beauty segment. They make the majority of the purchasing power are made by women, and a lot of women founders find familiarity in terms of starting businesses in that space. So we do see it coming up, especially in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you both touched upon a very important point, right? I think having the fact that women founders and investors are there more and more, I think it means that we have a seat at the table and we are able to represent the noises and the voices of the grassroots. So female founders are able to give more creative inputs. Female investors are also able to understand what the female founders are creating, not just female, but everyone, of course. And I think that's resonating more, even more so with, the grassroots. So I think that's important.
Yeah, in fact, I'm a part of a group, Women Investor in India. We are more than 500 people. 500 women investors. So I think
500?
Yes,
Wow,
it is more than
wow.
500 now.
That's amazing. Okay. I think let's go back to your journey, right? Because we want to all know how did you get here? So what made you join the VC space? What attracted you towards it? Abby, do you want to go first?
Sure. I think I took a little bit of the conventional Asian way of going into a VC. So I started my career in investment banking, went into sort of cross-border banking, covering Southeast Asia in the last 8 years or so. Decided one day that I wanted to do something a little bit more innovative, be closer to where sort of innovation can happen in banking and financial services. So in 2021, decided that I'm going to change. I'm going to go out, speak to as many VCs, as many funds as I could, learn the trade, and yeah, MVP decided that, okay, maybe Abby is a good bet, and took me in. And that was sort of my journey. But it's been great, 3 years so far. I'm really glad that I took the leap. Seeing a lot more sort of innovation every day. I'm speaking to different founders from different walks of life, building different models in terms of whether it's financial inclusion, whether it's for sort of a consumer fintech or a B2B or software. I see a lot of women founders building in tech as well. There are a lot of sort of female engineers coming out as well. So yeah, it's a great place to be here.
Sweta?
Yeah, so I come from a tech background, and I'm an engineer. Worked in tech, worked in fintech very early on, and I wanted to launch my startup sometime like 10 years back. Didn't happen, and always had an interest, right, in the startup ecosystem, understanding how the businesses work. So that was always in fact, that is my more interest area, more than badminton and yoga. I really enjoy learning new business models. Just accidentally, what happened is I got a lot of access to a lot of these founders who are just starting up in India very early on, 2014, 2015. Didn't do my startup, so, was always keen to, understand and learn more about those. And started doing a little bit of angel investment and started enjoying that journey a lot. I was working with DBS Bank and thought, why not do this full time? It's something which I really enjoy. And just things happen. So there were a lot of platforms available in India, a lot of deal access happened. So things just fell in place. And 2 years back, launched my fund. We focus on fintech early stage. We do fintech as well as some of the tech bets also. So yeah, that's the journey for me.
Wow, such different journeys were ultimately leading together towards a more balanced and cohesive environment. I think you both have already touched upon it a little bit because obviously it's part of your experience. a lot of your investments are focused also in India region, in addition to Southeast Asia, of course. So would love to hear some opinions on that ecosystem and ours, right? Any stories, whether it's in terms of female founders that you've seen here as opposed to India, on how they're leading their journeys, or in terms of even VC landscape, how VCs are looking at founders. Any stories that you would like to share, any experiences that you would like to share in terms of if we have to compare Southeast Asian, Asia region to India? Sweta?
So, I mean, founders always learn from each other, right? So it's nothing like in India, founders can learn from Southeast Asia can learn from India. But I do feel, especially in fintech, where India is in forefront when it comes to our DPI infrastructure and what kind of businesses have been built using those infrastructure. I feel Southeast Asia can learn from that. Purely to just what business models have worked, what kind of things have worked in India. Maybe you add your local nuances to it, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you can really scale faster if you take some learnings from there. Apart from that, I think the founders will go through their own journeys, so they will have their own stories. But I think mainly I feel that some of these business models we can definitely learn from.
Yeah, absolutely. Abby, what do you feel?
I will point out one similarity and one difference.
Sure.
So the one similarity is that both Southeast Asia and India, women tend not to be the CEO. They tend to be the COO, they tend to be the CFO, the one who's taking care of daily operations. Yes, there are some small percentage that does become the CEO and is the face of the company. But that's sort of the similarities in both regions. The differences, and this is not gender specific, is that Southeast Asia and India, in India, the founders are more akin to bootstrapping. The capital efficiency is very high in India, and that's tying into what we think is in terms of investment thesis, right? So we love capital efficient business models, and you tend to find more of that in India versus Southeast Asia. In India, we see $1 spent, you get $2 to $3 in revenue back. It's a little bit on the lower end here in Southeast Asia, unfortunately, but I think we're going through a phase that is going to be reset, and hopefully we'll bounce back. But that's the one thing that I think, Southeast Asian founders and in general, anyone in anywhere could learn from Indian founders.
Wow. Well, especially on the first point, I hope that one day we see many, many more CEOs. We do have some amazing examples in both countries, as you rightly said. But yeah, the number definitely can't be this skewed. It can't be in singular digits, for sure. I think we are at the talent stage, so I'd be remiss if I don't ask this question. What are some of the key skill sets that aspiring investors, obviously we are a little bit focused on women, but we can keep it even generic. If somebody wants to get into venture capital space or is early on still there and wants to upskill, what are the key skill sets that they should look towards and start learning? Any takeaways, any pointers there, Sweta?
I think most important is analytical skills,
Right.
which becomes really important. Apart from that, I think being just curious, learning the business models, and reading everything which is available, right? There's so much information available to learn the business model. So before you really get into it, for you to test it out, that you really enjoy that learning of new different models, reading itself can take toll on some people. So are you enjoying that piece? I feel not just being analytical, but when you see a trend or when you spot something, when you see your behavior change, you spot that and then do deep thinking on second order effect of certain things, right? And that basically gives you a very interesting business model where you would want to invest. So I think that is one thing. Another very important skills when you want to be a VC is networking.
Absolutely.
Hanging out with right sets of people who are really keen to build something with a larger vision. That just opens up your mind and opens up what works and what doesn't work in the ecosystem. So I think some of those things, and there are many more, but I can go on that. Have you want to add in?
I 100% agree on the networking part. I think we all kind of start out that way in terms of building relationships, but this is not just going to parties and having a lot of coffees. It's building real relationships and, kind of having empathy and in terms of what they're building and having good connections with the other person. I think the other thing that I would sort of point out is building domain expertise. So I focus on financial services, but I have other team members who focus on different sectors. And I find that kind of going deep into financial services or insurance, building thesis within subverticals makes sense. Catching the wind before it comes, pattern recognition, whether it's from vertical to vertical or country to country. Of course, localization and personalization is key, but having domain expertise is very important.
Yep, absolutely. I think I'll just add on to some of the things that you said which resonated. First and foremost, I think definitely testing it out if you even like it, right? So I think a couple of years back, when I was back in my consulting days, I got a chance to be on the buy side due diligence team. And I think I was like, okay, this is my day job, but is this something I even want to do on my personal side? And that's where I started kind of reading more about how this entire thing works and, try to do it on the side. And that's where I kind of now got the taste of it. And that's where, it's led me to be where I am. The second bit is on the networking. Yes, for sure. It definitely can't be just a name card exchange. You need to really foster that connection. In fact, as part of the Fintech Nation thing that we obviously have on the side, we recently launched this book called Superhumans of Fintech. And one of the amazing stories was actually an angel investor who helped their founder. They met at a networking party. That time, neither the founder was necessarily pitching, nor was the investor looking out for it. But they just formed a connection, started talking very organically. And today, that angel investor is obviously has invested, but then gone above and beyond in truly helping them further create that value proposition, taking to the next step. And I think that's where, the value really lies as well. So you need to go beyond networking and just actually form a connection. One last thing I would like to add in terms of skills. I think we from the grassroots often hear that, yes, women want to get onto this journey, learn investments, get into venture capital space. But how do we really make it happen? So I think at Singapore Fintech Association, what we did was we actually partnered with another firm to get women to learn the basics. So actually, because there are women young students who came up to me at last Singapore Fintech Fest that I want to kickstart this, but how do I start it? What's the first step? So we thought, why not do a masterclass series? Let them learn what are balance sheets, what are the various fund structures, what does venture capital even look like? They don't even know the ABCs of it. So I think those simple things that seemingly seem simple, but they actually add a lot more value to it and make it much more real. So yeah, so I think I just wanted to kind of share some of the things that we tried.
That's getting into VC, right? Yeah. So I had an interesting conversation with another VC this morning. A founder got funded because of a birthday party he attended.
Wow.
So it's not just, sort of VC to VC or anything like that. It's about, and this is tier one fund, yeah. It's a tier one VC who attended a birthday party, met the founder. The founder was ideating something along the lines of kids' financial identity, biometrics, etc. Pitched the idea. The VC said, take my $1 million at a birthday party.
Wow. Where are these birthday parties? Please get us invited.
Next time, let's go there.
Amazing. Okay, I think let's give the audience two takeaways. I think let's tell them two things that in both your life journey that you wish somebody would have told you as you were going through the entire experience of being a VC. So two key takeaways for our audience before we kind of let them go and have their drinks.
So, one is pivots are real. It happens. So, sometimes you like the founder, you like the hustle, but you feel that, why is he building this or why is she building this? I feel that they're building something else. Sometimes it's a good idea to bet on a founder in an early stage because they learn, they get the insights and they pivot, they change the business model and it can be very successful. Which doesn't, it's very counterintuitive, right? You don't like the idea, then why would you want to bet on somebody? But it works.
Yeah, it works.
Second, luck also plays very important role, I think. So that's also important.
I completely agree with that. I think comfortable with sort of change and ambiguity is something that I think everyone should be comfortable if you're early stage tech investing, especially as early as us, where it's pre-seed, it's just, two founders with, a 12-page deck. You have to be comfortable that 2 months later, everything on that 12-page deck is going to change. So that's one. I think the power of saying no to certain things is also very important. We started out as a sector agnostic fund, so we said yes to everything. But I think over time we realized that building expertise, like I mentioned, in financial services or consumer health makes sense, so that you can kind of bring value to the founders as well. So power of saying no and just focus.
Awesome. I think I hope the audience learned a lot. I think the only one that I would add on is it's underrated as to how important it is to have a mentor and a role model in your life. I think I was lucky enough that early on in my life, a colleague just in passing said that, I hope you have a mentor. I hope you've told your boss that I want to have you as my mentor. I was like, but he knows that. I report to him. I go out and seek advice. She said, no, ask him to be your mentor. And it was a him boss, so she just said him, but it could have been anyone. But I think it's important to tell that I want you to mentor me. I look up to you, guide me, have that continuous conversation, not just one time. And that can really make a difference. And it doesn't have to be obviously related to founder or investor. It can work in any scenario. But I think that's my last bit to add on. We have 2 minutes. If anyone has questions, happy to take them. Else, we're good. Okay, then I will let you get back to or rather let you get going to your evening and have some drinks. Thank you, Sweta, and thank you, Abhi, so much for joining us.
Thank you.